Our hang power cleans are a strength and power move, focusing on the posterior chain and our shoulders, so focusing on our back, that rear delt, the traps, also a little bit of the biceps and the forearms for this move as well. It is considered a total body move, one of the total body Olympic lifts, because of the fact that we are using multiple muscle groups across the body to work together as one to perform this movement. You're going to want a set of weights for this exercise, and you're probably going to want a little heavier set of weights in order to get the form correct on this one. This is one of those exercises where you actually want a little bit heavier weight in order to do it correctly, whereas if you grab a really light weight on this one, it's going to be easy to kind of cheat and use other muscle groups we're not specifically trying to work. So we're going to grab a set of dumbbells, like I said, a little bit heavier set than you normally would probably. We want to have a heavy enough weight that we need to generate momentum with the hips to get the weights up to the shoulders, not a light enough weight that we can just sit here and hammer curl them up to the shoulders. So don't start off super heavy because we are trying to get familiar with this move, but also don't just grab a set of 5s or a set of 7s on this one because it will be kind of hard to get the feeling of generating that momentum in the hips. We're going to stand with those feet about hip distance apart, dumbbells at our sides. We're going to kind of do a quarter squat as we push those hips back slightly. And then we're going to explode with those hips as they drive forward and those legs extend, and use that momentum to swing those weights up to those shoulders in kind of that front squat position, to where the backs of those dumbbells are resting on the shoulders and those elbows are going nice and high. Then we will drop them back on down to our sides to that starting position. So again, this is a hang power clean. Weights are hanging at our sides, generating that power in the hips, swinging that weight on up to the shoulders, catching it at the top in that front rack position, and then letting it drop back to our sides to that starting position. Really focus on generating power in those hips. We're not just curling it up to the shoulders, otherwise we're just going into a hammer curl on this movement. So really, total body move, bend a little bit here, keep that back nice and straight, generate that momentum, get it up to the shoulders, drop it back down to the sides, and reset for that starting position again. You can see how after going through this movement a couple times, if you're wanting to avoid that hammer curl where we're just using those biceps, you're going to want a little heavier weight so that you have to use that momentum in those hips, use that power generated from that lower body. Otherwise, you're going to be really tempted to hammer curl them up. So, most common mistakes made on this exercise. Number 1, once you're comfortable with the movement, still selecting too light of a weight. That is the number 1 most common mistake. This exercise should be one with a little heavier weight that's going to get that heart rate up. This is a power move. We're generating power, explosive power, and getting that heart rate up. So don't grab just 5s or 8s or something like that once you're comfortable with that movement, because otherwise you won't be using as much muscle groups. You will not be getting that heart rate up as high. So that's the number 1 mistake I see made. Number 2 mistake I see made on this exercise, this is a hang power clean. So we are just generating a little bit of momentum in the hips. We're not squatting all the way down and using the legs for this one. That's a separate movement. So for this one, we just have a quarter to half bend in those legs as we push those hips back to generate that momentum with the hips to get those weights up. Last mistake I see made on this exercise is rounding the back. So not keeping that good posture in that movement, instead kind of rounding over like this to get it up, and then not keeping a good posture at the top, not getting those elbows up high, instead just kind of coming up like this and resting in the top of a hammer curl position. So remember, posture throughout that movement, shoulder blades squeeze back, back nice and straight, swing it on up, catch it with that good posture at the top, elbows high, and then control it back on down to that starting position.